life, you've learned to run a basic assessment data report in Eduphoria Aware. We're going to go back into Eduphoria Aware, and this time we're going to look at the different ways we can see our data. These are called student data views. To get here, we're going to go ahead and run a data report again. So we'll click on our class period or subject, the test that we want to run, the subject, the year, the grade level, and then the test itself. The first thing you're going to see is the student scores, and this is the default view. In the student scores, you're going to see some demographic information as well as a raw score, a percent score, whether the student got satisfactory and whether the student got advanced, as well as the date that they took the test. Let's go to the drop-down menu and click on the arrow. We're going to look at the student learning standard breakdown. Now what this does is this breaks down all of the TEAK objectives that were tested on the test. So if I hover over this one, it'll tell me what that TEAK was. Underneath it, it'll tell me how the student did on that specific TEAK, whether they got 100% or a 0 on that TEAK objective. I'm going to go back up to the top. Now we're going to look at the student individual responses. Now much like the other one, we can look at the TEAK, but now we're looking at the actual answers. So if I see a plus sign next to an answer, that means the student got it correct. If the answer is in red, that means that the student got it incorrect, and they give you the answer that the student chose. I'm going to go up to the next one, and this is the item analysis for passers. Again, I can look at the TEAK objective here, but now what this does is it groups up all of the students who got a passing score on this assessment. Question number 1, for instance, you'll see in green is a C and a plus, and that means that that C was the correct answer. And in parentheses, it tells you how many students got that answer correct, which is 87.55%. Up top, you'll see the reds, which are the ones the students got incorrect, as well as the percentage of students that pick that incorrect answer. For the item analysis for the non-passers, this will now group all the students who did not pass the test. And now I can look and see where they're having issues, what questions they're picking incorrectly. So for instance, for number 1, for the non-passers, only 58% picked C and 35% picked A, which means that A could be a question we want to look at later. To get back, just click back on the test you ran. And now this is what we call the student data view. So to do this, we double click on a student's name. And now for this particular student, I can print out all of this information, or I can start to look at the information on this test. So up at the top, you'll see the raw score, and it'll tell me that it was a 5 out of 18, which will give me that mathematical 28%. And in star terms, he did not meet expectation. Off to the side, it shows you how this student did compared to the rest of the population of the district. If I scroll down, I'll look at the testing reporting categories, and I'll see the learning standards. I'll give me the learning standard, and this time I actually printed view of the learning standards. Over to the side, it's going to give me a breakdown of how this student did on every particular learning standard. Green means that they got it right, red means they got it incorrect. Underneath that is the individual question responses. Anything that's in red, once again, means they answered it incorrectly, and in the parentheses is the correct answer. I'm going to go up to the top right. I'm going to click on Show All Test. The Show All Test view is now going to clump every single assessment this student has taken since they've entered Harlandale. At the bottom, it says Reading, Math, Writing, Science, and Social Studies, so I can click on these words to eliminate these things from the graph above. Underneath is showing me what grade level they took these tests, and if you hover on any of them, it'll tell me that was a writing test, and it'll give me their actual star score. Science, 5th grade, writing, that was their 3rd grade, and that was their score. Underneath that is a breakdown of historical data on this student. So he's been with us since 2010, and so now I can get an idea of how this student did on these tests since they've joined Harlandale in 2010. Underneath that is his district benchmarks. If I move over to the right, I can see their commended and advanced scores. If I scroll down further, I'll start to see all of the tests that the student has sitting in Eduphoria. This is their campus benchmarks, any STAR tests they've taken, any tax tests they've taken, and any telepass tests they've taken. You have the ability to view these tests further. To do that, click on the icon next to the name of the test. This will take you to the view where you can delve farther into this test. You can see the student's raw score, their learning standards, and their individual question response.